Welcome back, everyone. Another beautiful day out here at Lake Mead. Today we are hitting the water. We're gonna go check out Hoover Dam. And look, I've got my official Hoover Dam tour hard hat on. Unofficial. It actually came from the gas station up the road. We're gonna hit the water, go check out some sights on the lake today, and just enjoy a beautiful, calm, sunny day here at Lake Mead. You ready? Let's go. And we are down here at the PWC beach today because they are still extending the main boat launch here at Hemingway Harbor. So they want that reserved for boats since there can be a little bottleneck there. So they laid down some pipe mats right over here for personal watercraft and your kayaks and canoes and all that good stuff. So we're gonna launch down here today and we'll head out, check out some history right in front of us, and then go on over towards the dam. We're gonna get some beautiful views on the water. So right behind us here is the clarifying plant for Hoover Dam, built in the 1930s. This is what's left of it, and for a long time this was underwater. So you can tell now it's exposed here on Boulder Islands. But this was being used to clarify the Colorado River water and get it all nice and filtered and cleaned up before send it out to the aggregate plant for further processing so they can make all that good concrete that was used to pour Hoover Dam. And there was actually a railroad, you won't be able to see it, but there was a railroad right underneath us here that was going all the way back to the shore and over to Hoover Dam that direction. So we will come back eventually and I'll go hike up here. We have a lot to see today, so I'm not going to shore the jet ski here and get off today, but you can get a look at the old clarifying plant there. Another piece of abandoned infrastructure here at Lake Mead that a lot of folks didn't expect to be exposed ever again. With the water situation now, everything's becoming visible, so let's keep heading on around. As we get closer to the Las Vegas intake pipe over here, you're going to get a look at just how high the high water level mark is here from the water. Let's go. Evel Knievel over here.
Is that better?
It's a little wild.
Hi.
Calm down, Bucky and Bronco.
Oh.
She's getting frisky out here.
Like that.
All right, we are getting close to Las Vegas intake number 1 here. And the good news is the cover is just barely sticking out of water, but as you all know, that's going to start changing very rapidly here in the next few weeks and months, as this pipe will once again probably be exposed. There's an elbow kind of 45 degrees going downwards. So right now the elbow is still underwater because we haven't experienced that crazy of a drop, but look at the high water line here. And right this way is the basic water intake tower. Usually we're hiking out this way and getting a view from it this direction, but now that we're on the water, we can see all the stuff from this angle. And I do see another abandoned artifact of Lake Mead right over this way that I want to check out in just a minute here. I was going to go hike to it, but now that we have the jet skis, this is a lot faster. And you can see all the old pylons here stacked up next to the intake pipe, but that circle sticking up, that's the cap or the hat of Las Vegas intake number 1 right here. And obviously this intake is not being used. And this is about as close as we want to come right now, because like I said, that elbow is sticking down and I can see it right here under the water, so we don't want to get too close with the jet skis, but I'll try and stand up and give you a little better view here. So there's where all the water for Las Vegas used to be pulled out of Lake Mead right here. And if you can get a look under the water there, you can see the pipe going down a little bit further here. So more abandoned infrastructure here at Lake Mead. What do you all think? You think that this intake will ever be used again? You think we'll ever get back underwater? That is a long way up. Check that out. Okay, let's go check out the basic water intake tower. Remember from some of our original Lake Mead drought videos, the intake pipes were still coming down right here, and some of them were still nearly touching the water, but they've disassembled all those pipes now. So it's just the tower sticking out. Let's go check it out from this side. Wow, so check out this perspective. Oh, we've never seen this before, but you can see these 6 large pipes that used to come down all the way into the Lake Mead here like a straw and suck up all that raw Lake Mead water and send it back into the city. And once again, this was operated by Basic Water, which was a subsidiary of Basic Management coming from the original Basic Magnesium that was once the company that basically founded Henderson. So this water was being sucked up, sent back into the city, and that's where all the Lake Mead water was coming from. And for a while, they were still sending that raw water certain places for use at the chemical plants in town there, and also Lake Las Vegas was receiving this water. But once it dropped, the water level here dropped below the pipes, obviously they could no longer get any water, and they didn't expect the water to come back up to the pipes, so they just took them out, because now as we've covered before, that 3rd intake was constructed underneath Lake Mead. It's somewhere out here. It comes out from Saddle Island here, so it's somewhere in this area. That 3rd intake is at the bottom of the lake down here. So because we have that 3rd intake, they're basically no longer ever going to rely on basic water. So this is all decommissioned, but I'm kind of surprised they've left the tower here still, and you can see the huge pump house right on top. I wonder if they plan to do anything with this ever again. Isn't that a neat perspective though? Another piece of abandoned Lake Mead infrastructure. Right over here is something else I was going to hike to and do an update on. But I no longer have to do that because we're right here, and I can tell there is rock bottom. So for all the boat wrecks that have been removed in this area, and you've seen them stacked up in the boat wreck graveyard, rock bottom is still out here, and there is a bunch more gravel and rocks in him. So I think if the Park Service tried to remove rock bottom here, he would probably just split all into pieces because of the weight of all this gravel in here. But there's the update on rock bottom, and stay tuned because I have a very interesting story about this boat wreck. As some of you might know, I always ask down in the comments of our videos, I ask if anyone knows the story behind these boat wrecks like Skyward and everything. Go ahead and drop us a comment. And we'd love to share the story, even if it's just anonymous. You know, we're not trying to get anyone in trouble or narc anyone out. Look at that turkey vulture. Wow, that's a big boy right there. It's going fishing. Well, like I was saying before I got distracted, we're we're always asking viewers, hey, if you know the stories of any of these boat wrecks, let us know down in the comments so we can share the stories. And this is one boat that someone chimed in with a very, very interesting story about. So I am going to share that on the channel soon, the story of Rock Bottom. But while I'll flash up on the screen our original boat wreck hike video so you can see what Rock Bottom looked like when I first found him. Looks completely different now. It's been washed up by all that gravel and it's nearly completely full. I mean, a couple more good seasons, if the water was up here, I think Rock Bottom would be completely buried. You won't even be able to see him, but look how nice and clear the water is here. All right, so we're leaving Rock Bottom back here. We're gonna swing by Boulder Beach from out on the water and get a look at all the reference objects, the tires and the crayons. And then we'll head to the main attraction, way up around the bend, to the mighty Hoover Dam. Let's go. All right, here we are at the entrance to Boulder Harbor. A different perspective for you this time. And you can see clearly right on the shore, there's our red crayon and there's a green crayon over here. So if we were coming back into the harbor back in the day, this is where we would shoot back in between the spires. And way in the distance there, you can see the boat launch coming down. And here's the dragon coming down from the spire all the way to the low point and then back up to Saddle Island on this side. But this is draining very fast here in Boulder Harbor. If we look down here, you can see the bottom of the water down here. It looks like it's maybe 8 or 10 feet. So just like over in the other areas, this is gonna start emptying out very quickly as water levels drop in elevation 1, 2, 3 feet this direction. It's gonna start coming out 10, 15 feet this way. So where we're sitting right now on the jet ski, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of summer we were walking around out here. So I'll keep a visual reminder of this area. There's our tires, there's the concrete block there, and our high water line where I was hiking just a few videos ago, way up there near the top of the spire. Pretty crazy how fast all the changes happen out here. So it's going to be interesting to see just how far we're going to be able to walk from the concrete block. The concrete block is just out of water, maybe 10 feet right there. It'll be interesting to see how much farther we can walk over the summer out this direction as the water level drops out. But let's keep heading over towards Hoover Dam now. Look at these beautiful views today. Like I said, it's about the perfect day out here on the water. Wind is very calm today. It died down over the past week. It was pretty wild, but luckily today it's calmed down a bit. The sun's out, a little bit of shade, so you get cooled off a little bit. About 83 degrees right now, and just enjoying what we can of Lake Mead. All right, let's start heading way around this direction. You can see where the light is on the side of the mountain there. We're gonna head back in there towards the Hoover Dam. Let's go. So check this out. One thing that's really neat is we are getting close to the canyon that leads to Hoover Dam, but looking from here, you can't even tell that there's a canyon going up this way. And this is part of the reason why they chose this exact area in here to place Hoover Dam, because it's so narrow and so steep right in here. Like coming up on it right here, You can't even tell there's an inlet going this way, but this used to be the traditional flow of the Colorado riverbed right here. And look at all these colorful hills here sliding down into the lake. When I see this, the first thing I think of is mining, or mine tailings. Looks like there's some really interesting mineralization happening right up here in these hills. And you can get a little better view of Kingman Wash right over here. There's a bunch of people down here now. Good place to camp and see the burrows and everything. And you can see that in our very first Lake Mead drought video. I came down there and did a before and after, but in the next few months, the water level is going to drain out of there very quickly also. Well, we are getting up to the canyon here that leads to Hoover Dam. Here comes the sun. Do, 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 do. There it is, folks, the mighty Hoover Dam. And wow, I thought it looks big when you're standing on top. You feel minuscule down here on the water looking up at it. And once again, get a look at how steep all these cliffs are along the side of the access way. Once again, illustrating why they chose this exact spot to put the dam. Let's see how close we can go. Document how far down the water is on those intake pipes there at this point in time. This little thing right here is kind of neat. This floating dock right here is actually an environmental monitoring station. And I actually pointed out this back in our PFAS videos on cleaning up Lake Mead. So this is actually monitoring the water quality here in Lake Mead, and there's several of them scattered around the lake. I wonder if those are the actual things that they're determining what's in the water here. Well, look at this view. We're getting pretty close to the line where you can't cross here. So we'll try and get up on here a little bit closer, and I'm going to take some still photos and document where this water level is at right now. Pretty cool. You can see all the traffic going across the bridge way up top. And you might not be able to make it out on the video, but there's people walking across the dam. They just look like tiny dots way up there. Pretty wild. Get a look around the canyon here. There's my adventure buddy. About this perspective of Hoover Dam now. Pretty neat. We've always been up top. This is the first time actually ever we've been down here on the water and seen the dam from this angle. Check it out, here comes the Desert Princess, taking folks up to come and look at the Hoover Dam.
Oh, you got video.
Well, 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 look what I finally found right in front of us. We are way out in a remote part of the lake, and the water level has dropped just barely enough to expose this thing. Like a week earlier, we might have been too early. I'm gonna try and tie off to Mrs. Mojo right here, and I'm gonna have to swim up there. Let's go check it out. All right, we have arrived. Look at all the debris along the shore here. And there's a nice sandy beach. It's a shame that the main part of Lake Mead can't be all this nice and sandy where everyone goes to swim. We are shored up here. Mrs. Mojo is going to man the craft, and I am going to go check it out. Wow, look at the size of this boat wreck. And this definitely looks like one main part of it here, but then back up here, looks like this maybe was the upper deck. Let's go check this part out first. All wood. This must have been quite a boat here. I wish I could see a picture of what this looked like before it sank. And there's just stuff strewn about everywhere. Gotta be careful too, because there's a bunch of nails sticking up out of the wood here, and they're all over the ground. Holy moly. Look at all the motors in here though. 1, 2, 3, and these are big boys. So I've got all the batteries in here. Wow, this was a good sized ship too. Look at the length of it. This must have been a shame when this thing sank. Looks like a lot of work went into it. I bet this thing looked really cool. Just stuff everywhere. Like hair curler, stuff from the cabin. And I'm sure when stuff like this starts to sink, no one ever thinks it's going to happen or happen so fast. And when it happens, it's just get out with yourself and maybe your pets. And what else can you do? Leave everything behind. It looks like a lot of these boats that sank, people were living on them too, like the sailboat and the boat graveyard. But look at the size of this thing. And I wonder what this was. Maybe a fuel cell? Another one back here. So we originally saw this boat wreck on Man Plus River. If you all watch that channel, or if you've never heard of it, go check that out. He kind of goes around and goes and splunks and dives and finds a bunch of stuff underwater. But a couple years back, during the bad part of the drought in 2022, he came out here to Lake Mead and he was exploring the boat wrecks, and he found this one. And ever since then, years and years ago, I've tried to find it and tried to find it, but we don't have a boat. So I went on what I called the death hike one time, which was starting way over in Kingman Wash, and I thought maybe I could hike all the way out here, and I'm glad I did not complete that hike, because some of the terrain back there is so gnarly, it probably would have ended up bad for me. So I went about 7 or 8 miles the one day, and then I had to abort the hike and hike back the same direction about 7 or 8 miles. It was about a 15-mile hike. And like I said, I'm glad I aborted that hike, because I would not have made it all the way out here. And that's probably why all this stuff is still left out here because it's so remote in this part of the lake. But this is the main part of the boat right here. That is wild. Let's go take a look up on the hill here. This looks like it might have been the upper deck maybe. Yeah, this is just another massive piece over here. Look at all the screws sticking out. And it's hard to tell what part this was. So if you can identify this, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. I'm starting to think maybe this was part of the bottom because you can see how the sides bow up over here. But wow, just the size of this thing. I can only imagine looking at the wreckage. And like I said, I wish I could find an old photo of this and see what this ship actually looked like. There's just stuff everywhere. Yeah, see, this is what makes me think maybe this was part of the bottom because it looks like it was bowing up here. But hard to tell. Well, no, because there's actually portals here, so maybe this was the top. And this could have very easily caught a gust of wind, especially if it started down here with the rest of the boat wreck. If it caught a gust of wind, it could have very easily blown up here. And the amount of stuff just scattered all around is pretty amazing, because mostly when we find boat wrecks, it's all kind of concentrated in one area. They kind of sink and then they go down in the gravel and they get mired there, kind of like Skyward was. But in this one, there is stuff everywhere. Big pieces too. So it makes me wonder if maybe this thing sank and then the water level receded and stuff blew all over, and then the water level came back up temporarily and maybe floated some of it around. Like, look at the size of this piece way up here. And there's even more down here on the other side of the hill. And like I said, when I first came upon the wreck, when we pulled up on it, we are just in time because the water level has been receding rapidly over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And you can see how close the main part of the boat is to the water right here. If we would have came out even maybe a week or two earlier, I think this part would have been underwater still. So this is like perfect timing. And of course, as I've been saying repeatedly, the water level is trending downwards, and it's trending down hard. So within the next few weeks and months, even though this is on the waterline right now, the waterline's probably going to be a lot farther out. And if anyone were to come and try and visit this, they're actually going to have to hike after they shore their jet skis, like we are down here. You can see Mrs. Mojo standing by the jet skis. There's a nice sandy beach over there. We stuck them up on the shore. But wow, the culmination of 3 or 4 years trying to find this thing and pinning places and coming out to them, and it not being the right boat wreck, because you can see some of the boat wrecks from satellite view depending on their age. So a lot of stuff I had pinned, and then I'd come out to explore it and I'd realize it's not the same boat wreck. But you can't mistake this one, just the sheer size of this thing. Take one more look at it and we'll start heading back. There's just so much stuff here, but it did look a lot different even when Man vs. River was out here exploring it. It looked a lot more intact. Like a lot of the stuff that's scattered out looked like it was more with the boat itself here. But yeah, another piece of Lake Mead's morbid history. Hey, if anyone sees this and they know the story behind this boat, or who the owners were and how this happened, we'd love to hear those stories. I love to share them. And you know, a lot of times mainly make sure that everyone was okay too. We don't like hearing the stories where people lost their lives in these boat wrecks. But as you know from watching our channel and from the Lake Mead Secrets videos we do, Lake Mead here is the deadliest park in North America. So I'm not sure if it still holds that title this year. I'll have to go back and check. But for many years in a row, it held that title. So even to this day, we have a lot of accidents down here. So we hope that everyone was okay in this boat wreck. And this thing is just massive, though. Look at all this stuff left behind. Even got the toilet in here. How about that? What a shame to lose these big motors too. Look at the size of them. This thing must have trucked. Pretty crazy. And right on top of the engine here, it might be hard to see, but that says Caterpillar. So this thing had 2 Caterpillar engines powering it. And I'm not sure if this was used for auxiliary power or something. If you recognize what kind of engines these are, let me know down in the comments. They are massive though. Well, definitely didn't expect to find this today, but this is a nice way to wrap up our exploration of abandoned Lake Mead structures. And we're gonna head on back across the water because we have a long way to go. This is way out in a remote part of the lake. What an interesting day exploring. Time to head on back though. And shout out to Adventure Club member Dawn too, who kept asking year after year if we have found this boat, if we've been out to the boat, if we knew where it was. Well, finally we can answer that question, and it's still here, as you can see. So maybe it's time for Man Plus River to come back out and do an update on it. We'll see. Going to be a long summer as the water level declines. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of brand new stuff that resurfaces also. We better saddle up though before it gets too late in the day. Time to wrap it up. We're about back. Time to wrap it up. There's Jerry waiting for the jet skis over there. What a fun day. Couldn't ask for better weather either.